What, as a parent? Could you not believe you had to explain to another parent? My sister called me sobbing hysterically at 3 a.m., and what she told me still makes my hands shake with rage. Her ex-husband had done something so sick that I couldn't believe any father could think this way. Their 7-year-old son had been excited about show and tell at school and wanted to bring his pet hamster, Mr. Whiskers, that he'd had for 6 months. Instead of saying no like a normal parent, my brother-in-law decided to teach him about responsibility by unaliving the hamster right in front of him and making him carry the dead pet to school in a shoebox. He wrapped it in tissue paper and told my nephew that since he couldn't even remember to feed it every single day, he didn't deserve to have pets. And now his classmates would see what happens when kids don't take care of their responsibilities. My nephew was sobbing and begging him to stop, but he said crying wouldn't bring back dead pets. The school called within 20 minutes. My nephew had opened the box during circle time and started screaming hysterically when he saw his dead hamster. Other kids were crying and running to the teacher, calling it gross and scary, and he was found throwing up in the hallway, begging to call his mom. The teacher had to remove the box and call my sister to pick him up immediately. My nephew was so traumatized he refused to go back to school for a week and kept asking if daddy was going to unalive him too when he made mistakes. He started having nightmares about dead animals and wouldn't let my sister out of his sight. When I confronted him the next day, he was actually defensive about it. He said, "The kid needed to learn that actions have consequences. Maybe now he'll think twice before being irresponsible with living things." I'm not raising a son who can't handle basic responsibilities. I was absolutely speechless. I had to explain to a grown man that unaliving a child's pet isn't teaching responsibility. It's psychological abuse. I told him he had just taught his son that when he makes normal childhood mistakes, the person who's supposed to protect him will instead destroy everything he loves. He was training his child to fear him instead of trust him. He argued that his father used harsh lessons to teach him values, and it made him successful. I asked him how he'd feel if his boss unalived his dog and made him bring it to work in a box because he was late to a meeting, telling all his colleagues that this is what happens to irresponsible employees. I asked if he'd feel motivated to work harder or just terrified and desperate to find a new job where his boss wouldn't hurt the things he loved. He said that was completely different because adults should know better than children. I replied, "You're absolutely right. You're an adult who chose to be late and has full control over your schedule. Your son is a 7-year-old who sometimes forgets things because his brain is still developing. But you just showed him that when he needs guidance, his dad chooses cruelty. The worst part? I had to explain that trauma like this often makes kids more anxious and forgetful, not less. By terrorizing him, he was literally making the problem worse, not better. I told him to imagine being 7 years old and knowing that forgetting something could mean daddy might hurt the things you love. I asked how he was supposed to trust him with bigger problems if he couldn't handle a missed feeding with basic humanity. He finally broke down and admitted he just wanted his son to be more responsible and didn't know what else to do. His own father had used fear and punishment for everything, and he thought that's what made him disciplined. He said he never wanted to hurt his son, but he was terrified of raising a weak kid who couldn't handle responsibility. My nephew forgave his father, but he still flinches when his dad raises his voice. That's the real tragedy.